cilia, the structures involved are, it is anteriorly mons veneris, lateral or is labia majora, and posteriorly by perineum. Internal genitalia includes vagina, uterus, fallopian tubes, and ovaries. And accessory reproductive organs include breast. So uterus, it is thick-walled muscular organ with narrow lumen. As you can see here in the figure, these are the walls of uterus, so thick, and this structure in the orange is the lumen. So here only in this lumen only the ovum fertilize here in this side, and the fetus grow in this narrow lumen only, which expands during the pregnancy, and this is the narrow lumen, and all the sides, that is the thick musculature wall. So thick walled muscular organ with narrow lumen, it is present in the pelvis between the urinary bladder and rectum. So it's anteriorly by the urinary bladder, and posteriorly organ is the rectum, and superiorly on each side by the uterine tubes. In the sense of the length, breadth, and thickness, it is 3 inches in the length, 2 inches at the breadth, and in thickness it is 1.5 inch. And if you convert in the centimeters, it is 7.5, 5, and 2.5 centimeters respectively. So length, breadth, thickness 3 to 1 in inches. And weight is approximately 50 to 70 grams in nulliparous. And at term, nulliparous means the lady which is never pregnant. So in nulliparous, the weight of the uterus is 50 to 70 grams, and at term, that of the pregnant lady, it's 1,000 grams. And the volume of the non-pregnant uterus is 10 to 20 ml. And in the case of pregnancy, it expands up to the 5 liters. As I told you, the lumen broadens up. So volume also increases. Now come to the parts of the uterus. So basically, here is the anatomical structure: length, breadth, height, weight, and volume. So about the length, breadth, height, 3 to 1 inches, weight 50 to 70 grams, and volume is 10 to 20 ml. And all these units are basically for the nulliparous uterus. And the anterior organ is the urinary bladder, and the posterior organ is rectum. Now come to the parts of the uterus. It is divided into 2 main parts. Large upper pear-shaped part is body, and the small lower cylindrical part is cervix. That is, pear-shaped upper part is body, and this cylindrical structure is cervix. And the body forms upper 2/3, and the cervix is lower 1/3. As you can see here, it is 2/3 and 1/3. The junction between the body and cervix is a circular constriction called isthmus. At the junction of the body and cervix, circular constrictions, it is isthmus about 0.5 centimeters. The point of fusion between the uterine tube and the body is called cornea of uterus. So cornea is located basically here. Between the uterine tubes and body, this is the cornea, because from here the uterine tubes continue. Now let's discuss about the body. Above the opening of the uterine tubes, dome-like end is called fundus. The smooth muscle tissue of the body is 2.5 centimeters thick, and it is surrounded outer side by the longitudinal fibers. In middle, it is crisscross, which contains opening of the blood vessels, living ligatures, and inner is the circular muscular fibers. So this is all about the body. Dome-shaped upper structure is fundus, and in this thick musculature also, can be further divided. This musculature structure can further be divided into 3 parts. And outer part of this muscular structure is longitudinal fiber in middle, It is crisscross due to the vessels, because it contains vessels, so it looks like crisscross, and inner side it there of this thick musculature are the circular fibers. And about this isthmus, this forms the lower uterine segment at 24 weeks and completes at the labor. At term, 70% isthmus and 30% of cervix forms lower uterine segment. The lower uterine segment is the important part during the pregnancy, and during the full term of the pregnancy, 70% of the isthmus, not the complete isthmus, 70%, remaining the 30% of upper lower 70% and 30% of the cervix. This forms the lower uterine segment, and it measures about 5 centimeters. And lower uterine segment at the time of labor, it measures about 10 centimeters. That we correlate like the opening of the cervix. It makes the passage for the fetus. Now come to the anterior surface. All this about the body and the isthmus. And what about the anterior surface? It is flat, directed downwards and forwards. As you can see here, this is the anterior, it is flat and it comes downwards and forwards like. So it is flat, directed downwards and forward, covered by the peritoneum up to the isthmus, and reflects on the upper surface of the urinary bladder at the uterovesical pouch. About the anterior relations, at the site of body, uterocervical pouch and the superior surface of urinary bladder, supravaginal portion of the cervix, it is surface of urinary bladder and loose areolar tissues, and the vaginal portion of cervix, anterior fornix of the vagina. As you can see here in the picture,